Um, I'm really pleased to be here. I mean, it's never happened to me that the school invites me for two consecutive seminar presentations. I hope you won't regret it. I hope you do not already regret it. It's really a pleasure to be here. Um, to be honest, yesterday the talk already was fantastic. I'm not sure if today can be any better. So the questions that I got really got me thinking, and I think many of the content that you provided me with yesterday will find its way in our working paper one way or the other. So let's just continue this today. So really, this is also still work in progress. Whatever you have to say, please raise it at any time when you have any question or clarification or critical comment, nasty comment. Please keep it coming. It will help us one way or the other. And especially if you just started your PhD trajectory, please don't feel any embarrassed to ask questions, comments, whatever. Really, just because I have a PhD and you don't yet, doesn't really make your comments or input any less valuable. So please don't hesitate to get involved, okay? Nice. So in this project, so the project, wait, let me do this. Okay. Okay, so the project title actually changed a little bit to what Lars actually announced, but it's still the same project. This is just reflecting that we're still trying to position the work, that we're trying to like narrow down, have it converge to one story. So today's title is Does Star Turnover Erode Content Supply? And we present evidence from Twitch, which is actually a live stream platform. By the way, let's do a raise of hands. Who knows Twitch? Okay. Just for me to so that I know. This work is joint project together with Jens from Technical University Munich and Brad from George Mason University. And let me give you a bit of a genesis story, why I was interested in this project and why we started with this. So I was always fascinated by user-generated content. So basically the content that we users put out there, mostly in the internet, so that other users find our content helpful and useful, and that basically businesses around these user-generated content systems can exist. So one of the most popular forms of user-generated content that is out there is online reviews. So I did my PhD on online reviews between 2014 and 19, and when I started back then, people were telling me, "Oh, Dominik, you're riding a dead horse. There's so much online review stuff out there. Why don't you do anything else?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I really want to do that." And it is a really cool domain to work in, user-generated content in general, because it's an IS topic, but it's also very, very interdisciplinary. Like marketing folks are doing it, and strategy folks are doing it, IS people. So there's really something for everybody. So I think this is kind of fitting for this group with the diginomics group, which is also kind of interdisciplinary, as I understand it from outside. So user-generated content is important. First forms, most important forms have been online reviews, has been studied extensively for at least 20 years, let's say. But the landscape has been evolving. There's not only online reviews on Yelp or on Amazon or on Google, but now new players have come to the fore. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, TikTok has been around for a while, right? But what I want to emphasize is that as new platforms came onto the market, the content that they were showing or the content that they were asking from contributors turned away from just purely text, online reviews, right, to videos and photos and maybe some other stuff, especially on TikTok and Instagram. And another shift from these platforms to kind of the newer platforms is also that, well, online reviews are like a means to an end. They're not the product. Even though platforms like Yelp would not exist without products, because it is the essence of their very business, right? I mean, without reviews, they wouldn't have any advertisers, for example. Like you have restaurants there, the restaurants, they want reviews, they're only paying for the services. If they have reviews, and it's only interesting to advertisers if there's traffic on the platform. So, you know, even though reviews are helpful to, reviews are necessary for review platforms, they're not a product as such. So you would not read online reviews just for your own pleasure. I mean, sometimes I do, because like there's these Instagram channels called Weird Reviews, and then you read the reviews and like Sometimes it's super funny, but like that's really just a very, very tiny fraction of my daily media consumption. However, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, these are real products, you know. I mean, you watch TikTok videos like I don't anymore, but it is people spend hours and hours per day just consuming it because it's a real product. Because it's funny, it's engaging, it's this network thing, it's like there's some hypes, so it's interesting. So it is real media consumption. Same on Twitter. Twitter is mostly news, so you consume news in a way. But Instagram is kind of a mix of TikTok and Twitter. So don't nail me down on that, don't quote me on that, but it's kind of just my perception. So for example, Instagram, they have these reel functions. So in the evening when my day is finished, I lay in bed and like I watch half an hour of reels and I share it with my wife. We send each other some funny reels, and it's kind of our substitute for TV, because like let's say a couple of years ago we would fall asleep and watch, I don't know, TV Total or some other show, but nowadays like the TV is off and we just watch reels. So it's some legit consumption. And you gotta imagine, I mean, this, even though this is products, it's user generated content. So there's a platform giving people a platform to put content out there so others can consume it. So it is super, super important for platforms to create or to attract content that others can consume, because otherwise they wouldn't exist. Or maybe not in the form that we have here nowadays. But now even more players come on the market. You have the Twitch and, for example, YouTube. These also have mostly video content. So Twitch and YouTube. Twitch is a live streaming platform. You can also watch content asynchronously. YouTube is also user-generated content. I mean, you all know YouTube. I don't need to explain it, but most content is consumed asynchronously. Some is also, you can watch it live. But they are really taking what I underlined here even a step further. Twitch and YouTube are real competitors for TV and media consumption. So many people, I mean, go ask your peers, like maybe the younger ones, right? So not many people watch TV. They go online and watch videos on YouTube just like as their normal media diet. And I sometimes also do that. So this is really user-generated content that is super, super different from online reviews. And another thing that sets user-generated online user-generated content online review platforms apart from the others is the fact that many of these platforms, they're actually home to stars. And stars are very, very important to platforms because stars attract attention. They make people want to be on the platform to, you know, follow the stars, get a glimpse into their daily life. So for example, actually, the biggest star on Twitter is Barack Obama. So like judging by his follower count, he has the most followers on that platform. And I mean, that's attractive for the platform and for us users, because if we want to get a glimpse in the life of Barack Obama, we just follow him and then see some of his tweets, whatever. Or Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo is the most followed celebrity on Instagram. Well, it is almost impossible for me to go to Cristiano Ronaldo's door and knock and say hi. But if I want to kind of connect with his life, I just follow him on Instagram. I mean, you get the story, right? The similar thing is on TikTok. And this is a general phenomenon. Stars are important for platforms. And on Twitch and on YouTube, you also have stars. So Twitch, Ninja, this is the guy, is kind of the biggest star on Twitch. He's shooting Fortnite. He is the de facto Fortnite star, kind of. And on YouTube, you have channels like Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is the most subscribed channel on, do you know him? What do you like about him? Yeah. Okay. So so you also have stars on YouTube, and you know they're attractive to consumers. They have grown the platform, whatever. But talking about differences, imagine stars on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and stars on these platforms. In my opinion, there's one really important difference here, namely that when you follow people on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you have stars. It's just a fraction of what you're consuming. And importantly, their content is not really competing with other content because they become part of your feed, right? So you scroll through your feed, you would see Barack Obama tweet, but you will also see a tweet of your friend that's posting a video of their dog. And so it's just part, you know, it integrates. It's not like, okay, I watch my friend's feed, like my friend's post or Barack Obama's post, right? It's not really like that, you would agree. But here it's much different. As I said, I go to bed, I put on, I don't know, a Ninja stream or something by Mr. Beast, which means I'm not watching anything else. So there's really, I have to make an educated consumption choice. Do I watch this or do I watch that? And this is not the case on TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram. And this is an interesting phenomenon. So I have to make a consumer choice. So stars are important for platforms, but they're not the only ones there. Platforms are also kind of long tail businesses. Long tail business just means, so a lot of people, like a few people attract a lot of demand, but there are also many, many other people that also produce content. And for content platforms, it's important to have different sources of content creation, because otherwise it will be very monotonic. And content platforms, they live off all the content that is produced. Basically, the video content for Twitch or for YouTube, it is a canvas where they can sell ads, you know? They attract eyeballs, they sell ads, so they want to have a lot of content. Now, because there's this competitive character, so in the sense that I have to make a choice what to consume, the question arises, how does the content supply of stars interact or influence the content supply of other streamers? In the sense that, how does the presence or absence of a star influence the content supply of other people? And that's a question that comes to the fore, especially for these streaming platforms, because it doesn't make any sense studying it on Twitter or TikTok. I mean, maybe, you know, new people start the platform because there's some stars on there, but these platforms are already big. And it doesn't make sense studying it in an online review context, because I mean, there are no star reviewers, because we're talking about the star status of the content producer. I mean, some platforms say, okay, this is like an elite reviewer on Yelp, but I don't really see them as like a popular star in the classic sense. Even though Ninja is, like Ninja was in an NFL, a Super Bowl commercial, was on the front of Sports Illustrated, and has had sneaker deals. So he's a real star in the classic sense. Now, the question that we're asking in this paper is, how does the presence or absence of a star influence the content supply on Twitch? And we formalize this as, how do star turnovers? So we leverage actually the departure of the star to study what the present absence, how that affects peer creators. And our formal research question is, how do star turnovers affect peer creators' contribution to a platform? So star leaves, what is the content supply of the remaining people on the platform? Any wild guesses? So first, is there anything unclear so far? And second, what do you think happens to the content contribution? I mean, it can go up, maybe it can go down. What do you think? And then what would that make to the content of the others? Would go down? Okay. Yeah, right. Okay, so let me summarize it. Content goes down because other people have less to talk about. But that would kind of, the inherent assumption would be other people produce content because they take others' content as like a foundation. That's a good point. But in our research context, it's like people stream actually esports. So their purpose is just showing themselves while gaming. It's not about talking about the star. So I mean, your channel might be true, but like not you. Okay. So we have one suggestion for content goes up, one suggestion for content goes down, maybe a third one. No effect. Yeah, no effect. It's also always possible. True. Ex ante, we're not sure. Does content go up? Does content go down? Because, okay, let me chime in a bit. So what we thought was kind of in line with what you said, right? So the star is there, the star was there, the star leaves, there's a void, others want to step up their game, they produce more content, you know, because maybe there's a big gap open. But it could also be like a competition story, you know, when you are competing in a game or in a tournament or whatever with somebody very good. And you're like, you step up your game where that person is there. I want to outcompete, you know, I want to show my competitive spirit. And when your competitor, like your really good competitor is gone, maybe it's like, okay, it's a bit of low thing. It's like, take it easy. So which means in terms of effort, maybe they produce less content. It could also be like, imagine you're a supermarket, you know, 2 supermarkets in a city. One supermarket leaves, then the other supermarket is, you know, seeing all dollar signs and saying, okay, now I got all the consumers for myself. And then maybe I don't do anything, you know, because life is easy, content doesn't change. Maybe content also increases because, you know, in terms of the supermarket, like more products on the shelf, more content supply, let's say. Ex-ante, we don't really know. And to be honest, extant research also doesn't really deliver a clear answer to that. And I handpicked, so this is just really a handpicked selection of literature. I handpicked 3 broad themes of literature. And the first is on platform management. Studies have looked at how to manage platforms and what are the important things that we need to know about for platform management. This is really marketing, strategy, IS, everything. So people have looked at platform control, have looked at seeding strategies, have looked at platform architecture, have looked at inter-firm exchange. These are all important levers, you know, that you need to know when you're a platform manager. But very few papers, or actually, I don't really think, or very few papers, let's say, have looked at understanding the consequences of changing star competition on a platform. Because some platforms have stars, some platforms don't, but we don't really understand how to manage them. The second theme of literature is about stars in multi-sided platforms. So for example, Winken and Stremasch, they have looked at stars when you want to sell a video game console, which is also kind of a platform, right? So they found that when you want to sell the new Nintendo video game console, it makes sense to sell your console together with stars. What's the biggest star of Nintendo? It's me, Mario, of course, right? So when you want to sell a console, it makes sense selling it together with the Mario title. And it has been recognized also by Nobel Prize winning economists, Rocher and Tirol. They say that they emphasize the importance of marquees. So economics mostly calls it marquee agent. But maybe most related to our study are 2 working papers, one by Manav Raj and one by Daniel Ershoff. And they find something very interesting that has not been brought up in this conversation yet. And Manav Raj, he studies Spotify. And he studies events when music stars launch new titles. So for example, when Taylor Swift launches a new album, he finds that not only does Taylor Swift get more listens, but also similar, not so well known pop artists also get more listens. So this is super interesting, and that's what Manav calls demand spillovers. And the suggestive mechanism is like this. So people know Taylor Swift. They're dearly awaiting her new album, even though the last 2 albums were really bad, in my opinion. So they're dearly awaiting the album, and they get a lot of attention once the album is released. And while checking out this album on Spotify, people also look left and right. So some demand trickles down. And probably this is also like boosted by the algorithm of the platform that they suggest similar content, or people are just looking for similar content because they're generally interested in pop. So bottom line is, when stars launch a new thing, other people can benefit. Some people have called that co-opetition because kind of they compete, but also like the presence of stars help each other. And yeah, on a side note, I had tickets for a Taylor Swift concert, but got canceled during COVID. We kind of lost the tickets and we didn't get the money back. This is kind of my Taylor Swift story. But there's not only this thing, but there's also Daniel Ershoff, who studies supermarket titles in App Store games. Like the older folks know that back then there was the super well-known game Fruit Ninja or Angry Birds, or today there's, I don't know, Plants vs. Zombies or World of Tanks, I don't know. So you name it. So thing is, there are superstar games that kind of everybody knows and plays. And when these games are launched, same thing happens as Manav Raj finds. Other games in that same category also get more demand. Because same story, you know, the superstar game launches, that category of games gets more attention. Some of that attention trickles down, spills over to other games. You have more demand. Okay, so this has been found, but what has not been found is, I mean, we're kind of economists, right? So we know that supply and demand is kind of together. So we have demand spillovers, but does that actually translate into more content supply? It's difficult to study on Spotify, right? Because even though an artist might get more demand because of Taylor Swift, that artist is not going to say, hey, I have more listens. Now let's go to the studio and produce an album, because album production really is, yeah, they has its own schedule. And probably also games. I mean, for games, I can imagine, because if a superstar title launches, you have these copycat games, you know? It is kind of Fruit Ninja, but it's not really Fruit Ninja. It's kind of Plants vs. Zombies, but it's not really Plants vs. Zombies. It might be a tower defense game, but I mean, we could study it there. But we studied in terms of live streaming, and we think like this is an important thing to note here. Last, actually kind of maybe my favorite stream of literature, like this classic literature on tournaments and stars. And here, for the finance people, we had this finance paper by Aman et al., who actually studied prices for star CEOs. And they found when CEOs get prices by a business magazine, other CEOs, they step up their game and make more risky moves. They want to exert more effort, and they increase performance of their stuff. This is actually kind of what you said. So stars can make other people more competitive. And then there is this very cool paper by Jennifer Brown, 2011. She studies what the effect of Tiger Woods is on the performance of other golf players in a PGA tournament. And she says, okay, when Tiger Woods is there, everybody else plays worse, because sometimes he's not there. You know, this is the scandalous guy. I don't really want to praise him because he's done a lot of bad stuff in the past. But so sometimes he's there on tournaments, sometimes he's not there on tournaments. And what does this do to golf player performance that are not Tiger Woods? He finds, Jennifer finds that when Tiger Woods is there, other people play worse. And she kind of holds some media attention channel responsible. It's a bit of choking under pressure. That means when he's there, other people are watching, this kind of increases the pressure. And when Tiger Woods is also there, other people know they have to make more risky shots. And, you know, more risky shots can also lead to worse outcomes, so people play worse there. But these star effects are really not in the context of multi-sided platforms. And we know that multi-sided platforms and like real life, offline, brick and mortar stuff are actually most of the time two different pair of shoes. So we think we need to revisit this star effect in multi-sided platforms. Any questions so far? Okay. Did we get a question online on text? Okay. Now, I told you, I mean, you don't know the empirical context yet, but you can imagine that studying like the effect of the absence of a star on the content supply of others is quite challenging from an empirical standpoint. And maybe also to the young people in the audience, whenever we submit a journal article, like an article for publication, reviewers, editors, or reviewers are just sitting there waiting for you to make an empirical mistake if you have data. They're looking, okay, is there endogeneity? Is there measurement error? Is there something that I can write down to reject the paper? So don't quote me on that, but I mean, we always want to be rigorous in our empirical approach. And this empirical setting is quite difficult to study for the following reasons. I mean, there could be reverse causality, right? So the star leaves because others have changed their content production behavior already. So maybe the star sees, okay, there's less content being produced by others. Maybe, you know, this is not the right place for me to be, so I leave. So maybe the star leaves because of the content change. This would be reverse causality. Could also be that the departure is foreseeable. So maybe it is announced at one day, and then the other creators already start to react. And then the departure happens much later, so there could be this disconnect. This is kind of expectation and enforcement of time, right? There could also be lack of control group. So when you have a star that is kind of connected to a group of other content creators, like what could be our control group? Because like in a quasi-experimental approach, let's say, if we only observe the treatment group, like how can we measure the treatment effects? It could also be availability of data. We probably need time series or panel data of the control and treatment group, and we need to observe content supply outcome. This is quite challenging. So if you want to tick all the boxes, well, you end up with our context, I would argue. So the setting of live streaming actually gives us a good opportunity to tackle all these boxes. So let's move on to the method. Our empirical setting is the market for online live streaming in 2019 and primarily Twitch. So for those of you who have never been on Twitch, it actually looks like this. So if you are a viewer, you see somebody playing the game Fortnite here. So this is actually our focal figure. This is Ninja, also known as Richard Tyler Blevin. He's playing Fortnite. So when you watch it, you see the game, you see the streamer, you see some channel details. You can also interact with some other viewers here. So you have a chat where you can talk about, wow, that was a great move. Wow, that was a bad move. Hey, please follow my channel, whatever, you know, so people can interact. But it's actually, so this is what many people do. He gets very, very many listeners, viewers, sorry. And it's entertaining. It's like watching football, watching ice hockey, watching whatever, you know. It's a large part of people's, especially young people's media consumption. I was presenting it on another workshop and talking to a colleague who was discussing the live streaming paper, and that colleague was mentioning that her son, who's 9 years old, basically is just on Twitch every day, watching stuff, wanting to become a streamer. So these kids, they spend a lot of time on Twitch. So I see nodding, which is good for me to see. Okay, so this is what Twitch looks like, and a bit more about the empirical setting. So streamers, they have channels and they broadcast audio and video in real time. It's mostly gaming content, but it's also some other content. Like some people are just there chatting, like talking about their life. For example, maybe you know the real Knossi, who also got content space on RTL now. He's just sitting there playing slot machines, talking to you. I mean, he's a questionable guy, I feel, but this is also what people do. Recently, also Twitch got kind of a problem with a bit of, you know, adult content, like people sitting there in bikinis or swimwear, and you know, I really don't want to talk about that, but that's also out there. Streams are being monetized. I mean, they can have ads. So ad money goes to the platform, partially shared with the streamers. Subscribers can subscribe for money, so that goes to the streamer and to the platform. There's also donations. So, you know, basically your strategy is put a lot of content out there, try to get ad revenue, subscribers, donations, and then you make money. The user age, as I said, is quite young. 73% are younger than 35. I think 35 is still quite young. The market volume is very big, a couple of $billion US, estimated to be in 2027. It's, by the way, Twitch is owned by Amazon. And the platforms that are out there at the time we studied 2019, they are quite undifferentiated. So even though Twitch was by far the biggest platform, Microsoft also had a platform called Mixer, and the number of channels that they had was actually quite comparable. Other noteworthy competitors are Facebook Gaming and YouTube Gaming. I mean, YouTube, of course, is in the mix. It's not irrelevant. And the functionality is also quite the same. You know, you tune in, you watch something, and then you just enjoy it. And this is what these platforms do. But then there was this, like, the main thing about our study is this sudden shock. Ninja announced on the last day of July that he is resigning his contract with Twitch. They had an exclusive contract. He's resigning that, and from the next day he's starting on Mixer. It's like I don't know, Thomas Müller from Bayern Munich saying, hey, you know, this has been my last Bayern game. From tomorrow on, I'm going to Schalke, which is obviously a wise move because Schalke is the best team in Germany. But this is, you can imagine, kind of being like this. So one day, no, bye-bye Twitch, hello Mixer. It's really like this. So no anticipation, no delay in announcement and actual transfer, no stuff like this. And if you look at, okay, why is this guy a star? Dominik told us he's a star, but is he really a star? Here's the followership distribution. And if you plot the followership distribution, well, every other streamer just looks like a bar, you know? If you take this guy out, you would have a normal distribution, it's a bit obscure, but you know, you see a lot of bars. Because Ninja is in here and has more than 15 million followers, this looks like this. So what I'm just saying is that he is really the outlier in the distribution. So he's the star. So the change was unanticipated, implemented immediately. The magnitude, I mean, the biggest player in the context left. So it was a definite shock. And the other nice thing is, talking about product heterogeneity. Twitch has, as I told you, a lot of different content. But Ninja was only streaming Fortnite. There was this comic-like shooter game that kids like to watch. So Ninja was only streaming this, so no kind of strategic content heterogeneity or strategic decision. And he was also streaming every freaking day. You gotta imagine, he was streaking on a schedule that was immense. At this time, he had a morning session, I think 5 hours, and an evening session, I think 7 hours. So 12 hours every day. Just sleeping in between, it's immense. I mean, how somebody cannot get a burnout from this is beyond me. But this is nice, of course, because let's say in the pre-treatment phase, people are not selecting into days when Ninja is there or not there, you know. So Ninja is just constantly there, and boom, then boom, suddenly not there anymore on Twitch. It's also, the data accessibility is also quite good. So there are websites that spread Twitch that we use. So we actually have very good supply data. So we know all the streams, how much content they stream. We also know their demand in terms of viewership and followership. We know what they stream, we know at which time, and we also know kind of what the language of the channel was, or the language of the streamer, which is very important for our study. Because you could have guessed it, I'm sorry, I'm presenting a DID paper again. Thanks for those who already have been there yesterday. Thanks for returning. So kind of, you know the trick. So we have a DID setup, and our trick is that our treatment group is English language channel. So Ninja streams from Chicago, Illinois, in the US, in English. So our treatment group, those that should probably be affected by Ninja's departure, are also English language channels. We cannot say whether they're in the US. We can just say it's English language, but also in the UK. And our control group are actually German channels. So why does that make sense? In a DID setting, we need absence of an effect between the treatment, like the shock, and the control group, right? Nodding. If you understand, the earlier you understand the setup as a PhD, how DID works, the better, because then you just produce 3 DID papers, graduate, and everything's fine. Why does Ninja Switch not affect German channels? Well, because the German kids, I said they're young, they're unlikely to be very fluent in English, which actually is an obstacle to really enjoying what you see, right? If you watch a movie in a language that you don't know, well, you can still see what's happening, but you know, it's kind of blank. And so the English content doesn't appeal to German viewers and vice versa. And also there's this time difference, right? So Ninja's main streaming session is in the evening of Illinois local time, which is actually nighttime in Germany, where kids should be sleeping. So the majority of, I mean, even us, you know, we should be working the next morning, so we don't stay up all night watching content. Like sometimes I do for NBA, but really just in the player. And then game-specific effects, they cancel out. So some people were concerned about, okay, so what if Ninja's departure is correlated with some really bad move in the game? Like they removed an item, they removed the map, they made some mechanic moves that really makes the game unplayable. But this does not matter because it should affect the treatment and control group. And everything that affects both, cancels out. And the popularity of Fortnite was actually quite comparable between the US and German-speaking countries. So, it was not like it's super popular there and not popular here. It's actually quite comparable. So that's a very good setup for us to study this question. So how did we construct our data? So we went to this website called Polygnor. got an index of all the channels that had streamed Fortnite in January 2019, then filtered for the fact that whether they are affiliate or partner channels. So affiliate and partner is like, okay, you're not the complete beginners, but you're kind of dedicated to this thing. So we only use those. And those that had more than 5 average viewers to ensure, okay, you know, we need some channels that are a bit relevant. And then we had this list of channels. Then we went to the website Twitch Tracker and got all the streams that they casted, all the streams that they produced in our time frame. So how many minutes, when did it start, when did it end, how many viewers did you have, how many followers did you have, what's your partner status, are you partnered, yes or no? So partners or affiliate. Is like the content that you have mature. We don't really use this variable. I don't know what's there. And like how old your channel is in days. And then we have a channel day panel data set. Maybe some very rough statistics. So whenever our channels go online, they stream for around about 264 minutes, which is 4 hours. So it's really not like, I mean, if you do that as a pastime activity, you're really dedicated. So that's quite a lot, to be honest. An average of 55 viewers, an average of 17 followers. So just so you know the ballpark number. Then what we also do is there are a lot of streamers out there, but we want to make the treatment and control group quite comparable. So we do coordinate exact matching on the variables stream Fortnite, minutes streamed in general, average viewers, followers, whether you stream Fortnite. So before matching, we have a few differences in the viewers and in the followers. After matching, these differences are gone. And we also look at the trends of these variables before matching and after matching. Of course, we only match on before treatment values. And after matching, these trends are also gone because most important thing about, or one of the most important things about difference and differences, we want to have parallel pre-treatment trends. This is the first evidence that we can present for that. Okay, let's go to the findings. Any questions so far about the setup? We have 260 for each language in our sample. More questions? I want to keep the suspense up for the participation. Yes. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah. Yeah, you basically sound like my English teacher when I was 12. He's like, hey, Dominic, this is not too difficult. I was sitting there, hello. So my point is, conceptually you're right, but I think in practice, I mean, if you have the choice watching somebody play in your own language, and like Germans are not like, it's not like all German Fortnite players are bad, then why would you watch something that you like barely understand or okay understand versus something that you perfectly understand, which is basically like, and the content is the same, more or less, right? So even though it's valid, and maybe say, okay, every German understands perfect English, then you still have the argument about the time zone difference. And we can also restrict the channels that we observe just to, you know, the time zones when Ninja was not there, the unchanged result. But it's a very good point. I just want to, from our perspective, it's quite unlikely. Good point. More questions? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good point. Good point. So we cannot look at the bank accounts of people and know whether they're making a living out of streaming or not. But what we can do is we can differentiate between people who had a lot of followers before the switch and people who have not so many followers before the switch. And maybe these results will be interesting to you. More points. Okay, let's go on then. So our findings. This is a graph of a distributed likes and leads models. So this is the pre-treatment phase. This is the post-treatment phase. We have time dummies that are interacted with the treatment variable, and these are all the coefficients of that time dummy. And we see first common trend assumption, by and large satisfied. The large majority of coefficients before the treatment are insignificant. And the majority of coefficients after the treatment are significant and negative. So content didn't go up, content also didn't remain unchanged. It went down, and I mean, it's difficult to eyeball here. So this is 0.0, this is 0.5. If we aggregate it and have one coefficient, our coefficient, depending on the fixed effects and control variables, is between 22% negative and 18% decrease in content, which is actually quite a lot. So like a quarter or 20% less content after Ninja has left compared to before. We do some robustness checks. We remove outliers. We winterize our dependent variable. We implemented unit-specific trends. Unit-specific trends are something that I would recommend trying out for the DID settings, because it could be like that channels are kind of on different trajectories, like a career high, career low. So, you know, they are on individual paths. So we implement them. We don't see any deviation in our results. And we also do the two-period aggregation if you're concerned about serial correlation in the standard error. And yeah, the dependent variable is minute streamed in log, so we can interpret it in percent. And the negative effects are persistent. So the time frame that we use here is 120 days plus minus. We can also use 60 days plus minus. It's quite robust. The effect is just in the ID settings. People have told us that, okay, the time window is really an essential thing that you need to consider. And if you say plus minus 120 days, it's a bit pathetic, because is it not longer lasting? Well, we also tried 180 days, we tried 230 days, 300, 360 days. It is a persistent effect. I mean, the magnitude decreases a bit, probably because the decrease is strongest right after the shock, but it's still there. So the negative content effect is persistent. English channels provide less content after Ninja has left. And now comes your question. So Charlotte asked, okay, so is it different across, okay, you know, people who make a living, people who don't make a living? And as I said, we cannot observe that, but I would guess people who make a living have more followers and viewers than people who maybe don't, right? Okay, good. So we look at the heterogeneity of the effect between people who have a lot of followers before the change, which is here. So this is actually the third tercile, so the most followers, and compare that to the second and the first tercile, so people with fewer followers. And we see that the effect is actually pronounced, like the effect is insignificant for people with many followers, so they're not so much affected, so good news for them. But people with less followers, they're affected. And actually those in the middle, they're affected the most. Yes. Another heterogeneity thing that we look at is really a shame that the title is not visible, but you gotta trust me. This is a dummy, diversified. It's a dummy variable, which is 1 if the channels that we have in our sample also stream other stuff than Fortnite. Because even though Ninja only stream Fortnite, the channels that we have also sometimes stream other things like FIFA or just chatting or whatever. So, so we interact with dummy variable diversified, which is 1 if they stream other stuff as well, and 0 if they only stream Fortnite. We interacted with our DID thing, the treatment and the times after, and we see that it actually, if you are diversified, this softens the effect. So if you're completely dependent on Fortnite, you would supply less content, but if you also supply other content, the effect is not that much pronounced, which kind of makes sense, because going back to this thing, Taylor Swift and demand spillover, you know, when Ninja leaves, assuming he had positive demand spillovers, because Ninja is there, people watch Fortnite, trickles down to other people. He leaves, people don't watch Fortnite anymore. So you have a negative demand externality for Fortnite. But if you have other content, the negative demand externality is not so bad, because maybe FIFA doesn't really suffer in this demand range. So this is something pointing into that direction, but I will talk about the mechanism a bit more later on. Yes, you were raising your hand? Okay. People have also bashed us a bit for, okay, this is just one case. So maybe it's Ninja specific. Maybe it's specific because he's going to Mixer. So, but it's actually quite difficult to kind of tackle these concerns, because it's not like we have a list of 100 stars and a list of 1 million channels that are like very well connected to these stars. So because of the setup, you know, we have one star, and this is kind of a case study of that star. But we find a second star. This is actually this guy's post. He's playing the game Hearthstone, which is kind of a bit of Magic the Gathering, and he was the biggest star in that category. And he switched from Twitch to Facebook gaming on November 2022, also unexpected in an exclusive deal. We get all the streams that stream Hearthstone by the same decision criteria that we applied for Twitch. And we find the effects are by and large negative and statistically significant. They are lower in magnitude than for Twitch, but that maybe also corresponds because even though this guy's post was a star in that category, he was not that kind of a star as Ninja was. We also did some placebo checks for our different setups, for placebo treatment timing and the placebo treatment itself. These checks are check out. Yes. Yes, also an exclusive concept. Great. But now let's talk a bit about the mechanism. I think we're still well in time. So people have said that, well, because Ninja leaves, maybe some of the channels that you observe also kind of go to Mixer with him. Because also people were saying that on Reddit, you know, when Ninja leaves, Fortnite will be dead on Twitch, because everybody will go from Twitch to Mixer. And if we have them in our panel and they stop streaming on Twitch and start streaming on Mixer, well, content goes down, of course. This could be an explanation. We call this desertion. You know, Twitch becomes a desert for Fortnite. So we checked this. We identified the accounts that we have. We go to Social Blade, which is like this website where you can see where they have accounts and kind of which account streams on which platform. And we checked whether our Twitch account signed up for Mixer. And we checked and we tested, okay, do English versus German channels, do they sign up for Mixer after the switch? And we see an insignificant coefficient. So this is, so we don't see that people systematically, so that English channels systematically go to Mixer, so they're not leaving the platform. And I mean, it could also be that they're not leaving the platform, but just stop streaming. You know, it's like, I give up, like Ninja is gone, I'm stopping streaming because Fortnite is dead. But we also, and we have this variable discontinued, so if we do not observe them anymore in our post-sequence phase, but we don't see any systematic difference. So this desertion explanation, so people leaving the platform or people stopping altogether, is not really what's driving our effect. The second thing, I keep reiterating it, the second thing is the demand spillover. We call it downsizing. So our assumption, or our working assumption is now that because Ninja is gone, he takes a lot of eyeballs with him to Mixer. Eyeballs that are missing on Twitch. So other people get less viewers because of the absence of Ninja. So how can we check this? Our suggestion is we use a two-stage least squares approach. So an easy instrumental variable approach. We use the departure of Ninja as an instrument for viewers or followers in the first stage. So in the first stage regression, Ninja's departure is our X variable, and viewers and followers is our dependent variable. And we see after the departure, people have less viewers and less followers. We plug this is the first stage, we plug the first stage value into the second stage and then regress the estimate for viewers and followers into the second stage with log streams as the dependent variable, and we see statistically significant positive relationship between viewers and streamers. You might ask, okay, why is this positive? Well, because the elasticity between demand and supply should be positive. So more viewers, more followers, more supply, which just means vice versa. If you have less viewers, you also get less content supply. So this is trace of the mechanism that negative demand spillovers have an effect on content supply. So when you have less viewers, you have less content supply. Correct. And let's summarize our findings just in 3 boxes so you have a takeaway. Our findings in a nutshell is Ninja Leaf switch. The demand for the remaining English streamers increases and the remaining English streamers hence reduce their content supply. I think this, coming back to the 3 streams of literature, has very cool insight because stars kind of need insight on when they manage a platform, how should they manage their star? And especially because stars, they're amenable to poaching. So platform stars, you know, I take your star, you take my star. And it's kind of a battle for stars as the streaming platforms have coined it. And sometimes stars disappear because they get banned, because they, you know, I don't know what, they start their own platform. So it's really important. I mean, some platforms also try to launch their own platform, like Tidal, the music streaming service in 2014, with exclusive star content. So this feeds to all these practitioners to this team of literature. Second, yeah, we find that stars have peer effects. People before us found that stars have demand side spillovers. We show that these demand side spillovers have effects for content production. And stars reduce the competitor effort, so content, let's say, but not in a classical sense, but they're shrinking the pie. So when they're there, the overall pie of viewer demand shrinks. This is why the content is reduced. And also for the roles of stars in markets in general, we need to kind of revise our pictures that stars have. Because in classical markets like in golf or for CEOs, we had different mechanisms operating. The mechanisms that we have on multi-sided platforms are quite different, so we need to revise and update the view that we have a star effect in these contexts. Now, every study gives answers, but also opens up new questions. Some of the new questions that you might also have is like, how can platforms effectively prevent star turnovers or minimize their impact? You know, when we are a platform, we want to learn from this and maybe assuage the negative effect. We only offer 1 data point, okay, 2 data points with the robustness check of the other stuff, but how does this effect manifest elsewhere? It's also a good question, maybe also in non-gaming context. And third, maybe what is kind of, are there any star characteristics that shape this effect? Is it different for stars who do other stuff, who are famous for doing different kind of things? This is not what we can answer, but maybe follow-up study. So our working paper is online available. Would be if you want to read it, you can access this via this QR code. And thank you for your attention, for the questions so far, and thanks for the questions that will be still coming.